Hello, Keto family, welcome back. Today we're making low carb Oreos. If this is your first time with us, don't forget, hit the subscribe button below and the bell icon so you don't miss upcoming videos. Let's get started, guys. Alright, lovely. So before we get started, as always, everything I'm using today is going to be listed down in the description below. And then at the end of the video will be a nutritional information card so you know about what to expect with these little guys. I think since I've gone low carb keto, the number one thing I miss the most is sitting down and eating a bowl full of Oreos with a glass of milk. I mean, anyone else, or is it just me in the room? But I haven't had an Oreo in probably about a year now. And the other day I was craving some Oreos, so I went through, started experimenting with some different recipes, and I even tested them out on my in-laws who were visiting, and we found a winner. So I'm going to show you guys today the Oreos that were voted the best of the bunch. All right, to start off, I have 3/4 of a cup of almond flour here. It has been sifted. Always make sure you sift your powders and your flours. You don't want any lumps or bumps in there. And to that almond flour, I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of coconut flour. Again, it's already been sifted. In here I got 7 tablespoons of cocoa powder. If you find it easier, you can measure it as 1/3 cup plus 2 tablespoons, but it comes up to 7 tablespoons. Now this recipe works best if you can find dark chocolate cocoa powder. I unfortunately couldn't find any, so this is just regular unsweetened cocoa powder. So that's why I added a little bit extra to it to try and bring up that chocolate flavor. If you did find the dark cocoa powder, you can reduce that down to 1/3 of a cup. All right, next up is going to be our sweetener. I have 1/3 of a cup of granular monk fruit here. You can use your sweetener of choice, just adjust it up or down as you see fit. Now I do prefer the granular monk fruit because it does have the least artificial sweetener type aftertaste to it, so that's why I like the monk fruit the most. All right, to this I'm going to add a 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder and a teaspoon of pink Himalayan sea salt. Alright, we're going to start our dry ingredients together. Now that we've gotten the dry ingredients mixed up, we're going to add the wet. I have 1 egg lightly beaten, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and 1/3 cup of avocado oil. Once again, we're going to mix all this together. Alright, our cookie dough is ready. Now we're going to move on to the next step. Alright, so I've got 2 pieces of wax paper here. And if you've seen any of my other cracker or chips recipes, then you will know what's coming next. We're going to go ahead and turn this out onto the wax paper. I flatten it just a little bit to make the next step easier. Alright, I'm going to cover the other sheet. And then we're going to take our handy dandy rolling pin and we're going to flatten all this out. You want this to end up being about a 1/4 inch thick or so. Any thinner and they're going to be really crunchy. Any thicker and they might be a little too soft for you. So I found a 1/4 inch is just the perfect thickness with these. Alright, so the dough is all rolled out to a 1/4 inch thickness. Now at this point you have options. If you want the cute little circles that we're used to seeing with the Oreo cookies, then we're not going to be putting this in the oven right away. If you don't care if it's circles or squares, you can take a pizza cutter to it, cut whatever shape you want, pop it on your cookie sheet like so, and then bake it. However, I like my circles. I do. I don't think it's an Oreo cookie if it's not a circle. Personally, that's my opinion. You can do whatever you want to do, dear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stick this in the freezer for about 15-20 minutes. When you're cutting out shapes, it's nice to have the dough a little bit more firm. I've tried it straight like this and it did not work out for me at all. It stuck to my cutter. It was just a nightmare. So I'm going to stick it into the freezer for about 15-20 minutes and then I'll be back in just a second and we'll start the filling. Alright, lovely. So for the filling, we're going to be using the mixer here. If you have a hand mixer, that will work too. I'm going to be using my stand mixer. I don't believe this will work if you're just trying to whisk it by hand. If you try it and if it works out, let me know because I'm curious. So I have a stick of unsalted butter here. I'm going to go ahead and add this to my mixer. This has been softened. Make sure you soften your butter up because this is not going to work right if you don't. If you don't have time for it to soften, what I would normally do is I'll stick it in the microwave for 20 to 30 seconds just until it's no longer, hard, and then we go from there. It's a little cheat for you. Alright, so I'm going to close this down and I'm just going to whip this butter a little bit till it gets nice and light and fluffy. Usually it only takes about a minute or two. Alright, our butter is nice and light and fluffy. I'm going to add the sweetener to it. I'm using 3/4 a cup of powdered swerve, the confectioner swerve. This might seem like a lot, and at first I thought this was too incredibly sweet. But whenever you add this and the cookie together, it balances each other out really well. When you put powdered swerve into your mixer, please do not just go in straight and turn on medium or high. You will have a cloud of sweetness in your kitchen. I've done this more times than I can count. So I like to gently just mix it in just a touch to get it just slightly incorporated with that butter so I don't make a mess in my kitchen. Last time I did it, I found powdered sugar or powdered swerve everywhere, even in my pantry. It was insane. Oh, don't do that, please. Alright, so I'm going to put this down. We're going to go ahead and mix this for a minute. Alright, now that we've gotten the sweetener incorporated with the butter, next up is I'm going to add a teaspoon of vanilla extract. Alright, let's give it another mix. And that is it. The filling is now ready. The cookies in the freezer still have a few more minutes on them, so I'm going to get cleaned up meanwhile. Alright guys and gals, the dough just came out of the freezer, so we're going to go ahead and make it look like Oreo cookies now. So I'm going to spray my cookie sheet with a little bit of olive oil cooking spray. If you want to put wax paper down on it, you can. That's not a big deal. And then I have just a little shot glass here. I find these to be the perfect size for these cookies. So we're going to cut out our shapes. And very carefully, you want to release them from the wax paper, and you'll lift them off just like that. And just set them on the sheet. We'll move on from there. But don't be real grabby with these. Don't try and yank them up. Just release them from the bottom up, and they'll come off beautifully. Otherwise, you'll rip them. See, like I got aggressive with one and ripped it right there. That's okay. We'll just roll that back up in a minute. So one little tip is whenever you're pushing down with your shot glass or whatever cutter you're using, find if I kind of shift it left and right a little bit, it releases it off the wax paper a little bit so you'll have an easier time pulling it off. Alright, so I've gotten all the circles out of that I'm going to get, so I'm going to roll it back out again to cut more circles out. And also, if you roll these thin, keep in mind they're going to burn very easily, so you have to keep a close eye on them when they're in the oven. Try not to get them any less than a 1/4 inch thick. I know this for a fact because the first time I made them, I did roll them through them, and I burnt the whole lot of them. I was so sad I wanted to cry. I'm like, no! Alright, once more, I'm gathering up the scraps. Roll it out. I'm trying to get as many cookies out of this as I can. It would be a crying shame to leave cookies behind. These are so delicious. Alright, so I am finally cutting out all my cute little circles. I'm going to pop these in the oven. I already have it preheated to 350 degrees. And the original recipe said 14 to 16 minutes, but unless you're very confident your Oreos are a 1/4 inch thick, I would start watching them around 10 minutes. Alright guys, I'll see y'all back soon. I'll let you know how long they cook for. So these bad boys just came out of the oven. They cooked for right at 12 minutes. And there was just one that was a little bit thinner than the rest. It got a little bit too overcooked, but I'm not going to stress over one little cookie. So there is absolutely nothing we're going to do with these cookies right now. You have to let them cool down. If you try to even move them or mess with them in any way before they cool down, they're just going to smush apart on you. So I'm going to let these cool. I'll see y'all guys back in a little bit. So these have had a chance to cool off completely. They're good to go. I did bake these for right at 12 minutes, like I said. And some of the very thinnest ones did get slightly overcooked, so just make sure you keep a close eye on them. Unfortunately though, while these are hot, there's no way you're going to get them off the pan to prevent them from burning. So Try not to make them too thin when you're rolling them out. So all we're gonna do here now is we're gonna take our icing and just ice them. We'll ice one side, stick another one on top of it, and sandwich the two together. Now find that this recipe makes a very ample amount of the icing, so you don't gotta go too skimpy on it unless you just want a little bit of it. And also the last time I made this, I found that putting these in the refrigerator overnight really helped this icing that's in the middle to solidify up, so it's not quite too soft. Because if you think about the Oreos, they got a pretty dense filling in the middle of them. There we go. We have us Oreo cookies. We had a few more, but they disappeared before I turned the camera on. I blame the husband for that. But don't tell him I said that. Now, don't ask me in the comments down below how long these will last before they go bad, because these have never been around long enough for me to find out. They're usually gone in about 2 to 3 days tops. All right, I'll finish getting these iced up. I'll see y'all back soon. All right, all the icing is done, and here we have it. So I ended up making 20 cookies. I had a little bit of icing left over, not a whole lot. Depending on how thick or how thin you roll your cookies, you might get a little more or a little bit less. So take my macro breakdown at the end of this video with a grain of salt, as yours might not be exactly the same as mine. Guys, I hope you found this video helpful. If you would, leave me a thumbs up down below. It helps other people find my videos. And feel free to share this recipe with anybody that you know could use a great low-carb Oreo cookie recipe. Until next time, guys. Bye.